Hello, everybody, and welcome back. You stumbled across the None of the Above podcast, home to the ill-informed and the misaligned. I'm your intrepid host, Corey Allen. It's great to be here tonight. Got kind of some low energy levels, but we're working through it as always. We do that all the time when I have low energy levels. It's just life, man. You know how it goes. With me, as always, my co-conspirator, partner in crime, everybody's favorite North Country wildflower, Anna Rose.
Hello.
Good to see you, girl.
How are you?
Hanging in there. As always, that's my catchphrase.
Well, you work today,
hanging in
so
there. Yeah. It's over. It's over. Deal with it again another day.
not
What you
tomorrow.
kind of got to do. We've got a great show lined up. We have a special guest sitting in on the round table with us tonight. A woman that really doesn't need any introductions, but kind of gotta give it where it's deserved. You know, she has an MBA in marketing. She's the director, sales and marketing at Emma Leaf Brands. Is a very fine establishment, company, whatever you want to call it. Here in the state of Missouri, where we live, she's a avid reader and a diehard blues fan because she is a glutton for punishment, apparently. She also is a cat lover, cat rescuer, if you will.
Indeed.
I'd like to introduce you all now to my niece, Tammy P.
Hey there. I'm so excited that I'm on your podcast.
Yeah, dude. It's great to have you here. We're excited. It's been a long time coming. We've been waiting for it.
Cool. Then I'm doubly glad.
All right. Well, there you go. There you are. I know these guys don't really know each other, Anna and Tam, but I guess after we get done tonight, perhaps they will know each other a little bit better. We're going to ask Tammy some questions. She's an expert in a lot of areas, a couple of them, one of them being marketing cannabis and Missouri medical regulations and all the ins and outs, man. You think of the Queen of Cannabis, QOC. That's her. Everybody bends the knee. I mean, you know, you got to bow down to the queen, man. You know, that's what you do.
I thought that was just something you guys did as my family.
Oh, no. Well, that's one of the reasons, I guess, but not the main reason, you know. Yeah, the questions we didn't come up with, they're from somebody else. The internet gave us these questions. Artificial intelligence. You guys know anything about that? What do you think about that stuff, Tam?
You know, I have to tell you, I like the last 4 podcasts I've been on, that's been a question.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to be real honest, and it's going to sound very small-minded. If it means that I can go and watch baby corgis working at Chick-fil-A or orange kittens taking over at McDonald's, by all means, continue, build it out. I want more. I don't care how many videos it is of little orange kittens working at McDonald's. Hourly would be fine.
Yeah.
Where I draw the line is when we talk about how it could replace people in a lot of situations. So like if you're thinking about manufacturing as an example, maybe you can eliminate some of the line work, or, you know, right now people are still using Lean Six Sigma and they already have it as shaved down as they possibly can. Maybe AI could make that a little bit more efficient to automate a couple more steps. But the fact that it could work in a manufacturing lab in my industry, you don't want AI rolling your joint. You don't.
Yeah.
Because AI can't smell it and make sure that it feels right.
Mm.
It can do things like check the humidity, can do things like test for potency. But anyone that's ever consumed cannabis flower knows the nose knows. Someone that's been a cultivator for decades can walk into a grow and tell you within 5 minutes what's right and what's wrong in the room. I don't believe AI can do that.
Yeah, no, at least not yet. It can't. It's still an infant. It's
Yes.
still very young.
I agree.
And I I tend to agree with you as far as it replacing. It will replace artists. There won't be artists. I mean, they will, but the stuff that gets published won't be that a guy made.
I agree.
It'll be something that they came up with for $0 on AI.
Yep.
Companies will do that. I mean, I use it every time I edit. I use it every time I'm using it nearly constantly on the computer now. If you get on the computer, it's AI powered and driven.
Mhm.
Period.
I think the other thing that bothers me is I think that we have a lot of people who, let's say under the age of, 21, who are making these very, these big statements with conviction that I don't need to go to college. AI does everything I need for it to do. College is a waste of time. I don't need to go to a trade school. AI can do anything. I'm not going to learn a trade. AI is going to replace that. And that terrifies me, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I think we're kind of already there. I don't think people are going to trade school. Anna's Dan, he went to trade school. He went to a really nice one and got some, but his generation is probably the last one.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even think, they think.
Well, I know there are still trade schools, but they're not near as popular. And
No.
that's people are relying on AI way too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's too late. That's the only reason that I embraced it was because I was like, it was like the glasses and the fucking cell phone for, Anna tells that famous story, me never having a cell phone for 20 years or whatever. Everybody else did, pagers and all that. So I never had none of that nonsense till I got married. I denied this I was like, no, we push it back against it. No, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. And then it got to the point where now it's too late. It's already, we covered an article on one of our podcasts where the AI was threatening to kill the guy and threatening to ruin his life and call his wife and, she's going to get divorced and get him fired because he threatened to turn him off.
Mm-hmm.
So isn't that self-aware and all of the things that when it becomes, what's the word? It's not self-aware, but you know what I'm saying? When it realizes what it is and what it's capable of, and
when it's reality and it's too late.
Yeah. I think we're there already. So that's why I was like, okay, well, I'll just go ahead and use it for whatever I needed to use it for. Come up with outlines, come up with questions to ask a guest, make me pictures and images and videos and all that. They're
I am
amazing.
super apprehensive about the whole thing. Like at some point, I feel like are we gonna lose the knowledge completely on even how to grow our own food or emotions, how to run through emotions, and anything. It terrifies me.
Yeah.
So like my grandchildren or my great grandchildren, what's their life gonna be like with AI?
Horrible.
I know.
Have you ever read George Orwell? We talked about this with Spencer.
Yeah, you did.
1984, man. I mean, it's what we've become.
No.
I don't know. Now we're going to mix in the book of Revelations from the Bible with 1984, Jack. And that's kind of the exact description of what's happening. The book of Revelations talks about the peace. There'll be peace in the Middle East before Jesus comes back. Well,
Right.
the Antichrist might be Donald Trump. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he is, but
Some people speculate.
They say that people will be fooled. And
I'm sure you can Google and find hundreds of thousands of things that say that in itself, that he's the Antichrist.
Well, people that hate him, yeah, Democrats.
All I'm saying is people are always going to look for something that they can blame on whoever is in office.
Yeah.
And I'm
No.
not a supporter of the current two-party system by any stretch. So
I'm not either. I'm a
But
participant in it, but I'm not a supporter.
but I do go and vote, and I vote my conscience. But I just think the world is, I used to be an extreme extrovert. I was always up for, yeah, let's do it. Let's go. Let's let. Not anymore. I mean, it does not, frankly, other than not being able to see my loved ones, isolation for COVID, one of the happiest times of my life, because people, instead of telling me that I was, like a hermit, like they started seeing the beauty of staying at home for days at a time.
It's a dream, man. I'd love to never have to leave.
But anyway, I digress.
We do that. That should be the name of the podcast. Is I
I know it really should have. I digress.
We've covered like 16 topics already, and it's been 10 minutes.
We're not even talking about the reason she's here.
No, of course not. Well, this is just the general BS session at the beginning. We'll deep dive here in a little bit. Did you guys hear about? I did have an article about in December 1st. Let's see here. New age verification rule causes Pornhub to shut down access in Missouri. Did you read this? Did you heard about this?
I know
Yeah, they were talking about it on the radio the other day.
I was unaware, but apparently pornography sites that wish to operate in Missouri must now verify that users are adults before granting access to explicit content.
Which is probably a good thing.
Perhaps.
Well, then I guess I have to break in and ask a question here.
Okay.
How are they performing the age verification? Is it like an age gate like we have to have in cannabis, to where when you go to the website, it pops up what we call an age gate and you have to say, yes, I'm 21 plus?
No, you have to give them your ID.
Oh.
Yeah. Which is what all of like Pornhub said, look, this is a security risk. We're not doing this. We don't want to, and as a matter, there are still, this is just Pornhub. It's just it's a couple of sites, Pornhub and X Hamster, I think. They're owned by the same people apparently, and they've just completely pulled out of Missouri. You can't access it at all. But the other ones that are still operating here you have to prove that you can't just click a box saying I'm 21. You have to show that you're 21. Which gives them your ID now and your name and address and all your shit.
Well, we have to keep the children safe.
Well, it is.
The government says we have to keep the children safe.
And that's the purpose behind the ruling. And the people that wrote it and put it into law said, well, if you're against protecting the children, well, then there's something wrong with you, man. You're, like a 15 or 16-year-old kid couldn't get, a fucking Proton VPN off the Google Play Store and access it anyway, because that's all you got to do. Yeah. They don't take you showing your ID to anybody. A VPN puts your IP address now in Sweden. And
moving.
And then in a few minutes, it'll go to Czechoslovakia and then Australia. And, it's all... So it's not, that's my point, is it's not proving that the people accessing it it's just proving that they were able to get by the age verification.
It's the illusion of security.
Right?
Yes, that's it.
Yep. It's the same thing they're doing with doing with the vape industry. And cannabis too, I suppose. A lot of, proponents or opponents of the whole deal. Oh, my kids are going to be, they're going to be ruined.
If you've ever purchased cannabis at a licensed Missouri dispensary, what you'll see is that the word marijuana is the largest word on the package. And it's because that's part of the regulation.
Right.
Marijuana has to be the largest font on the package. And so the whole idea of discretion is gone. But it's because of the threat to children's safety.
Yeah.
Which has become my responsibility as a manufacturer versus your responsibility.
Right.
Not pointing at you, Anna, as a parent.
Other parents, not you.
Yes.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Well, and once again, that's BS too. What does that really do?
Yeah.
What does that rule do other than check a box for them motherfuckers?
Yep.
It doesn't do anything. You know, the vape industry, I don't know what the cannabis industry is like. I would imagine it's similar because it's kind of grassroots, but vape industry kind of self-regulated itself. They made it so that kids weren't coming into places, and they made it so that you had to, you know, there was claims of chemicals, raw, you know, diacetyl is one. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. It's what's in microwave popcorn and the butter at the theater when you get butter on your pie. It's not really butter. It's this buttery flavored shit. It's a food additive. It's called diacetyl. Okay. And there were early on, like, I don't know, 2015, there was some juices that contained diacetyl. Diacetyl is carcinogenic, and it's all these things that's bad for you in large amounts. And there's a condition called popcorn lung,
Right.
which people that worked at Orville Redenbacher got from breathing the shit for 8 hours nonstop, all day, every day in super heavy concentrations, way less than even in a cigarette. A cigarette contains like, you know, 0.7% diacetyl. A vape has 0.007% diacetyl, you know. So, and there's never been a single documented case of someone with popcorn lung that didn't work at Orville Redenbacher. And yet every other ad on Facebook is the dangers of vaping, popcorn lung. Doctors have linked popcorn lung to, it's misinformation.
Well,
It's not the truth.
and
It's using, go ahead,
it's
sorry.
not the only thing that people are being misled about in such a way. I mean, I can't think of more of a parallel than prohibition of alcohol or cannabis.
Yeah.
You know, how many headlines do you see every Halloween about making sure that you check your kids' food because people will put edibles in them?
Right.
You know what? We're not going to pay what we pay to get edibles and
to
give
put
them to kids at the door.
Right. Slipping trick-or-treaters a Mickey to, you know.
Now, their parents might give them half a gummy to get them to go to sleep after they've eaten all that candy.
Damn Skippy.
But I'm not handing it out.
Yeah. They come up with these, you know, apocalyptic scenarios, which, you know, I guess are theoretically possibilities. It is possible. There were people putting razor blades in apples during Halloween and stuff like
When
that.
we were kids,
Needles in our candy when we were
Exactly.
younger.
Yeah. Yeah. Cyanide in the Tylenol. Tam, you remember the 80s?
yes,
You know, I don't know if you remember that specifically, but that's when they first started putting tamper-proof packaging on all the medicines because people were putting cyanide in the fucking Tylenol. There are crazy people out there. I get it, but
well,
I'm done with this. I'm done with this whole thing of trying to prevent every single bad thing that could ever happen to you for the sake, you know, we got to protect the kid. We got to, you know what, motherfucker? There are 1 trillion goddamn people on this fucking earth. And we learned last week how much 1 trillion are. And it's a lot, man.
it is a lot.
It's a lot. But, you know, they're all going to die. Every single one of these people is going to die at some point. Isn't there such a thing?
The more we warn people, the less we're letting natural culling of the herd occur, in my opinion.
Exactly right. Evolution stops. The strongest don't survive. No one survives now. I've said it 100 times. People that have these kids and they won't put them down on the ground. Like, you won't even put them on the carpet in your house because you're afraid they're going to get some crazy germ or dirt or say. We know, she knows people that are this way. I know people that are this way. Their dad wanting to take their newborn son down in the creek with them to go hunt for arrowheads because that's what his dad did with him. No, you can't do that because he's going to get mud and there's bacteria and blah. Yes, there is. There is bacteria in there, but you get exposed to it, your body will fight it off. Next time you come into contact with it, it won't hurt you. For the most part, there's exceptions to everything, but I definitely don't need government doing these things to protect me.
Which is my point too.
That's my biggest thing. Let me do my thing and you do your thing. I won't tell you how to do your thing.
Right.
You don't tell me how to. And the government needs to stay out of everything.
Yeah.
But
Protect our borders and take out our trash. Fix our highways.
But maybe don't fix all of our highways and all of our side roads at exactly the same time.
Right. Yes. That is the new norm, actually. Yes. Yes, you're correct. At least my section will be done soon. Another 6-8 months, my section will be done. I don't have to deal with it anymore.
I have a section no matter which direction I go.
Ugh, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate driving that shit.
I hate driving, period.
Well, you drive like you love it.
Subtle.
Stroke race was born to race. Yeah, so people are going to be bummed about their
porn.
Their porn access. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll send a card to people I know that use it.
Yeah.
Or you lost your porn.
Yes. My condolences.
I wonder if they're existing users if they have to confirm.
Yeah, no, they can't operate at all. You have to prove that the other person receiving the explicit content is of age.
Then what's to stop that from happening on YouTube?
Well, there are AI overlords at YouTube that will flag stuff. There are people that monitor and moderate, especially the live stuff. Twitch is the same way. That's live. That's like instantaneously all over the internet and happening in real time.
I'm guessing you guys do the same, but when we put our videos up, we either run them through a censor so that it bleeps the words, or if we're talking about something that is not intended for people under the age of 18, like cannabis consumption, then we mark the video as age restricted.
Yeah, I mark all of mine as age restricted or that it's not made for kids.
But what's to say that's not the next step? You have to prove you're 18 or older. A lot of the, anonymity of YouTube that people can watch without having to participate, that could wreak some havoc, right?
Well, yeah, but they don't care about side effects. Like the pharmaceutical company doesn't care about side effects.
Oh, of course they do, Corey.
No.
Listen to how many they list when you see a commercial.
The doctors don't list them. The doctors ignore them. I've shown my doctor those lists.
Don't get me started on traditional healthcare.
Okay. Well,
years.
As a matter of fact, I was talking a while ago about the popcorn lung article showing up on my feed just nonstop. Every other one is a new one from LAD Bible or whoever it is posting the shit. Here's one that my doctor said to me. She talked to me about this very thing. Scromiting. Have you heard of scromiting?
Yeah, they're starting to tie it to cannabis hypermesis also.
Yeah, CHS.
The reason it's coming back up again because of that.
This article talks about how ER visits are up.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't say that ER visits are up because of scromiting.
No.
That's conveniently left out. That ER visits are up for teens. Well,
there might be a correlation. It doesn't mean there's causation. We run into that a lot with published research.
It talks about how much money it costs every time that one of these people have to go to the ER. They have no idea what is causing it. They say, we don't know what's causing it, but they know that it's cannabis related. Well, if you don't know what's causing it, how do you know that it's cannabis related? Because the people that happen to have it also use cannabis. There's anecdotal evidence anecdotal evidence out the wazoo of long-term chronic users. Ask Willie Nelson if he vomits uncontrollably and has gut-wrenching screams and no, he doesn't have it. Ask Cheech and Chong if they fucking have well, it could be related to the higher THC levels that we have. Okay, Willie Nelson and Chong, they all have their own lines of pot grown in modern grows, not the old 70s way in a closet with a light bulb. It is the strongest cannabis available nowadays. Amsterdam used to be the king 25, 30 years ago. They ain't got nothing on us. We got all the same shit.
I'd have to argue that one.
Well, okay.
But I digress.
They just have been doing it longer. That's why they're where they're. And I'm sure Vancouver's similar. They're, and Colorado is probably a step farther than we are, or several steps. But you see what I'm saying. It is definitely stronger than the Mexican dirt weed that the hippies were smoking in the 60s and 70s.
Yes, it is
I've
not
always
of my father's youth.
Yes. I've always heard that, the acid you got in the 60s is way stronger than the stuff you get nowadays, and the pot you get nowadays is way stronger than what you got in the 60s. That's what I'd always heard.
Well,
I wouldn't know, High school Corey would have known about the acid, but modern day Corey don't know about no acid.
I have a couple people that would know on the acid, but not really something I'm dying enough to know that I'll go ask.
Yeah, it's not important, really. My biggest thing about this whole video is the way that it's written, dude. It's such bullshit. So I asked you guys earlier if you'd ever gone to the New York Post. This article is from the New York Post, and just the way it's written is such. There's so many weasel words. They say stuff like research suggests or researchers say, well, yeah, so who, Biff on your staff is the researcher that looked it up on the internet. That's where you're saying researchers suggest this. You didn't even quote anybody. Like, give me the name of the doctor that did the study. Oh, there hasn't been one. There's no studies.
No, but everyone's not asking those questions. Too many people are going to read it and take it as gospel. That's the way the press has always worked, and will always work.
I guess so.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me so angry. It's the kind of stuff that gets me hot under the collar and makes me blow. It's so infuriating. It's such bullshit. It's like people aren't even smart enough to look at the facts or even find out the facts. If the New York Post did.
So don't go looking for it.
Well, here's the thing. My doctor, who, has talked to me about this very thing, she can't even be bothered to look at the facts. She only knows what they're feeding her from the American Medical Association.
Okay.
Or whoever is. What's that?
It's about, okay, how come you're talking about your doctor. Your doctor is a doctor of medicine. Yeah. So they're not going to look at cannabis things. So how come we don't have like doctors of cannabis that we can go to that like gives us a prescription and figures out what we need if we need something, or even if it would work?
Tam, you want to take this one? I see you chomping at the bit.
Actually, we do.
Oh.
So the American Nursing Association recently chose to recognize cannabis nurses, of which I have had in my circle and as a client for almost 6 years. And what they do is meet with people who are interested or have what they think is a condition that they've tried everything else for. And they meet and they talk through what their goals are. They talk through what medications they're taking so that they can make sure there's not a weird interaction. And while they don't write a prescription, they do go into great detail to talk to people about what consumption method would be the healthiest for them, depending on where they are. If you've got a grandma that's got emphysema and has oxygen, and she's got pain in her knee, we're probably not going to have her smoke. We're going to give her a topical. But they also do a lot of really good fact finding to see how long they've been treated for something, what they don't like about their current treatment options, or are they managing any particular kinds of side effects? But one of the things, as far as the doctors go, you have to be a doctor or a nurse practitioner to write a recommendation for a med card. But there's been a lot of movement, especially from those of us that are in markets that started as medical, but then very quickly went to recreational. We still need for med card holders to have someone they can talk to if they have questions. And bud tenders are not able, according to regulation, to say that any particular product will do this in regards to a condition. But there's more and more people, especially clinicians, who are making a case for making traditional clinical education, like for an MD, that it has to include some component of education about the cannabinoid system.
Oh, that's
So-
really interesting.
You
Yeah.
get if you get a medical card, you consult with a doctor. He talks with you or she, whoever, and asks you questions and asks if you've used traditional therapies before and what were the results of that and what don't you like about them.
So if you were to get a medical card like now, would
Yep.
you would speak with a doctor or a nurse practitioner, get a medical card, but they also give you a dosage or tell you what to get, or like how does that work?
Typically, what I would say is a certifying doctor is not going to tell you how many milligrams to start with. But if you contact like a cannabis nurse, or when you go to your dispensary, a lot of them will have a nurse on staff certain days of the week. You can tell them that you're new to cannabis and you just got your certification and that you have questions, and they'll give you someone seasoned who can answer a lot of those questions.
Okay. Very interesting.
So are there medical claims? You're obviously a proponent and advocate, a public advocate for medical marijuana and the usage of it. Are there claims that you feel are overstated by the proponents of cannabis, like things that people really push that, come on, really, it's like, you know what I'm saying? In other words, is there stuff that people that want it to be accepted would say, even though that may or may not be true about it, they're overstated?
Not really. I mean, no one that is trying to help someone get a medical card is going to be trying to push something on them because there's no benefit to it for them. And if you talk to someone that's on staff at a dispensary, like a cannabis nurse that's there one day a week or whatever, or even a really seasoned bud tender that's been around for a long time and remembers, the fundamentals we have to ask people about medical, I think more than anything, the fact that no medical claims can be made probably protects us to a certain extent because it's a state regulation. I don't know of any state that doesn't have some form of that, but for us, you can make no medical claims whatsoever. And so from a sales and marketing perspective, as well as if you're talking to a bud tender in a dispensary, we have to walk a fine line to say, I have a lot of patients who have tried this for sleep and they've come back and said that it helps them. Or I have a customer whose aunt is going through chemotherapy and she has a lot of nausea. And so what we've suggested she use is something like this, and it has proved good luck for her.
Yeah, but I think my mom and Anna's mom and your grandma, could have benefited for some cannabis.
Oh, without question.
She laid there and withered away because she had no appetite. She couldn't eat a thing. Well,
We tried to get my mom to smoke it and eat it or whatever we could find,
Yeah.
and she wouldn't do it because she
Yeah.
didn't want, she didn't want to do it.
My
she's-
dad tried to get my grandmother to smoke. He begged her.
Yeah.
Begged her.
It would have helped her pain and stuff. We also, Dan's grandpa, we tried to get him to eat some gummies and too whenever he was in pain.
Yeah. Well, I
That
know
generation
for a
is just so against it.
I don't know. I guess I know a guy that recently and still currently, I guess, dealing with colon cancer, and his wife is currently dealing with breast cancer, and it's pretty bad. But I think that, as a matter of fact, the guy I'm talking about is a former drug addict. Like, he was a hardcore,
Yeah.
heroin, meth, whatever you can, pills, down and out, living on the street kind of guy. He's not any longer. He's straightened his shit up, but he had to have surgery and was like, what am I going to do? They're going to give me opioids and shit. I can't take this stuff after the surgery or whatever. And luckily, and it's a friend of the family, we love him. He's our bro and stuff. But Tammy had just become kind of what, the QOC. And she was like, well, here, dude, how about all this? And he did. He tried it and it helped. And he didn't feel like he still, his instincts are to avoid anything like that because, he's a recovered addict. But
Yeah.
I think it did help. I'm not sure that I don't think she's really doing anything. Is she? Do you know, Tam?
I don't know if she's
Certainly.
doing kratom or not. I don't usually ask. I just always make sure that I tell them that if anybody needs some help to let me know.
Let's you brought up kratom or kratom or however you say it or whatever.
Yeah.
People think that those dispensaries are the same as the medical marijuana dispensaries, and they're not the same, are they?
No, that's why. That's why.
They don't even sell the same products.
No. And that's MoCan Trade did an entire campaign and continues to do, trying to make people understand if you're buying something at a gas station that someone tells you is the same as what's at the dispensary, run.
Yeah.
Don't buy things that you're going to ingest that you're not confident are what they claim to be. Because you can really and seriously hurt yourself and others.
So, but everything at a dispensary is something that you can be confident.
Correct. In the
Okay.
state of Missouri, a licensed dispensary has to have complete seed to sale tracking, which means from the moment that they get the seed or the clone, every single scrap of it is traced until it either gets destroyed on camera for the regulators or is put into a product that you can buy at retail, and it has a complete certificate of analysis from a licensed testing lab.
Yep. Biomass.
Is
Even
all
weight.
the
Not the leaves and it's like the the stems and all that that all has to be accounted for. Everything. From, like she said, from seed to sale, from its entire existence, it has to be documented and trackable.
and
What's
is
the
it
number
all
or
done
number?
within the United States?
It's all within Missouri because
Yeah, you can't go out of the state.
you can't have interstate commerce with something that's federally illegal. So anything that you buy in Missouri that is legal cannabis has to be grown in Missouri
From the seed.
or
Well,
clone.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I was just going to ask, what are the most of the you sent me pictures of tours of these growth facilities and stuff in your travels as CEOs and all the things in your corporate career. What is the most common medium for growing? Back in the day, you just put it in the dirt, and then along about the 70s or 80s, they came up with hydroponics. And do they even use hydroponics or just in the dirt growing now?
Some people do hydro, but usually I don't see it a lot in a commercial grow just because it's much easier to do that in a small home cultivation. Most of the ones that I've seen, there are a couple that do living soil organic, like Robust out of Cuba. They are 100% organic. And then there's a producer cultivator in Carroll County that is called C4, and they are green clean certified.
Nice. Do
But
you have any personal experience with any of that product that's grown organically or anything like that?
I've had Emily, actually, we purchased biomass from C4 for some of our pre-rolls. So if you've ever had a Pocket J, a Jumbo J, or Cousin Dave's, you may have had C4 flour in it.
Oh, wow.
Robust, typically, they sell most of their stuff within their own, because they're what we call a vertical. So they have manufacturing on site.
Right.
So they can take a lot of what they cultivate and push it into their lab and make things like rosin and pre-rolls and things like that. But Robust has a robust following that very much want organically grown.
Yeah, I think that's the way the food industry is going too. The business that I'm in is food that's organic and grass fed and all that shit.
Well, and I think it comes down to personal preference. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I'm given the choice between a feedlot cow and a grass-fed cow, I'm going to take the feedlot cow.
Yeah.
Because that's the steak I like.
My man.
But I don't purchase a lot of flour commercially unless it's a strain that I'm dying to try because I'm fortunate enough to have a caregiver.
Well, that was another question that I wanted you to talk about, was the medical marijuana program allows you to, you don't even have to go to the dispensary. You have a person that grows it for you. Is that right?
Correct. That's correct.
And he or she can tailor your needs, with his different strains and hybridize these things to make it more for you to go to sleep at night if you have insomnia, or to relax you if you have anxiety. And I know you've got a coworker, we don't necessarily have to name them, but they're super dependent on it, not dependent as in addicted to it, but dependent on it like they need it daily, all day long, in order to be able to operate at full function.
I have a lot of coworkers that are that way.
Anxiety, depression, lots of mental things that people take all these horrible, antidepressants and all these kind of things for, that they just use cannabis and they don't need that other shit. And their liver's not going to get, shut down from all the pharmaceutical.
Yeah, there's a lot of benefits to having your med card. Probably the ones that most people are aware of is the fact that you pay lower taxes. So if you have your med card, you pay lower taxes when you make a purchase in a dispensary. But one of the things that's very, very appealing is exactly what you just said, Corey. And a lot of people who truly do have severe medical issues go with a caregiver route, because a lot of the people that wind up being caregivers are people who do more than just grow. There's someone that grows that can make Rick Simpson oil at home for them for cancer, all those sorts of things, like specialty products that they either can't get in a dispensary or that they can't get in a dispensary for a reasonable cost. Because manufacturers are not going to always make things that don't have a huge margin. Shocker, right?
Yeah. Amazing.
But what's cool about our program is if you apply and are approved to be a home cultivator, you also have the ability to become a caregiver. And what that means is that you can grow for up to 3 patients. And there's a limit on the number of flowering plants you can have at one time, but there's no limit on how many times you can turn that. So like if you do an auto flower, you have more turns than you would if you were having to grow something from a seed and make sure it doesn't switch sexes on you, anything like that. But with a caregiver, like you said, I can choose which strains I want based on what my experiences with them have been. And then I can have him put those in each of my rotations. So the things that I have come to count on for sleep, they're not necessarily strains that I can buy in Missouri dispensaries, because a lot of them are more classic, like Critical Mass or Northern Lights. And so those aren't really something that I see a lot of commercial cultivators doing, but they work for me for sleep. So that's what my caregiver grows for me.
Nice. And you don't have to go to town.
No, even better.
Well, at least as often. You don't have to travel to civilization.
Not as often.
Well, what what gets overlooked most in conversations like this? What is neither side saying?
I don't think there's nothing that neither side is saying. I do think, and you're going to argue with me on this one, and that's okay. I do think that in markets across the country, not just ours, we have to find a way to prove to people beyond their relatives sneaking it up on them that chasing THC is not what drives 100% what your effect is. Terpenes, which are compounds that are in the plant, are what actually direct a large part of the effect that you feel.
Yeah, limousine and whatever the rest, I can't remember all, but
And they're not compounds that are just in the cannabis plant. They're in the food that we eat. So if you wanted lots of myrcene, you could eat blueberries, you could eat mango, and then smoke a J that's heavy in myrcene, and you would feel it even more. And it's because of the terpenes, not because of the THC percentage on the label.
yeah. Well, I don't know that I would argue with that. I think that most people that are looking at it wouldn't be on the forefront of everybody's mind every time they make a purchase if that wasn't what the dispensaries were. They always make sure to include the THC level.
We're
If it
required.
wasn't important, they wouldn't do that.
We're required.
They want people to look at it. Oh my God, look at that. That's 28% fucking THC. Damn, man, we got to get that. We'll be really chonged tonight, you know.
Yeah.
I think that's not, you know, that's not anybody that's using it seriously. I think that people that, you know, well, I want the strongest stuff to help me with my condition.
Right.
You know, isn't that what the mindset is? That's what the higher percentage implies. And if you're talking about concentrates and stuff, shit, some of that is 80%, 89% THC.
Yeah. And with concentrates, I mean, the name says it all. Theoretically, you would be using a much smaller dose of that than you would flour that was of the same percentage. Not that you could get flour that was 83% unless it was infused.
You could. That's not yet. AI might help create that at some point, but not quite yet.
But you know, I know for fact that I've at least on more than one occasion, I've said to people in my family, when I say I have something new I want you guys to try, they'll go, oh, what is it? And I'll say whatever crazy name it is. What's THC on it? Doesn't matter. I want you to try it first. And then they try it and they're, woo, that hits hard. What's THC on that? And then I go, 18. And I feel like my point's been made.
All right. Well, what about this?
Okay, so can you explain that? Why is it the terpenes and versus the THC percentage?
THC is a psychoactive compound, but there's all sorts of other compounds that come from the plant, and they all work in concert with what's called your endocannabinoid system, or ECS. And every mammal has one of those. So cats and dogs, they all have them as well. And there's two different kinds of receptors in your body. Same goes if you're taking like an antidepressant. Like if you take a serotonin reuptake inhibitor,
yeah,
that attaches to certain receptors in your body. And so what scientists and published research and scientifically backed evidence-based have shown is that the percentage of the terpenes of each type that are in different flora and fauna, they impact our ECS different, and everybody's system is really different. And so they started looking, you know, this has been over decades, if not longer. They just may not have known what to call them. But what they found is that as they start looking at things that have these same compounds in them, they find that they have things in common. So like myrcene, which is in a gajillion different things that grow on this earth, that tends to help people with pain. It's also the most prevalent and most popular terpene that you'll find in most commercial cannabis. If you were looking for, and really, you know, to take it up even further without me trying to pretend like I'm Bill Nye Science Guy, because I'm not, but there's more cannabinoids than THC. There's CBD, there's CBG, there's CBN, and then you've got the acids, you know, THCA, THCV. There's certain terpenes that you look for and certain cannabinoids that you look for if you want to stimulate your appetite, like if you're someone dealing with nausea from chemo. But then you also have cannabinoids like THCV that have been shown to suppress your appetite. And so it's two very different things for two different people based on what they're trying to accomplish.
Got it. It's very interesting.
It is very interesting. There's a lot.
Yeah, it is. It's really complicated. And I feel like there's just always one more thing that you can like is it like, are you ever going to know it all? Are you ever going to feel like I think everybody should be going to talk to that nurse at the dispensary, because is that what divides it from a drug versus medicinal? Like at what point do we go from drug to medicinal?
Well, that's just it. You know, everyone can argue that there are people that are rec versus people that are medical.
Maybe that's what I should have used, rec versus medical.
Having grown up in the atmosphere that I did, my relatives that were getting high and teaching me how to roll joints when I was 13, even though I didn't smoke, it's not that they just wanted to get jacked up. It's because they weren't comfortable and feeling somewhat uneasy and not feeling like they were going to be able to relax or feel like themselves unless they had something to give them that effect. So what's the difference if someone does that getting high or eating a gummy versus drinking a 12-pack versus eating a handful of Percocet? I think it's all therapeutic. You don't have to call it all medical, but I do think it's all therapeutic. And so, you know, I think it depends really on how people choose to market themselves. You know, if there's a bro and he's hanging out with a bunch of other bros, like at one of the conferences that we have internally, they're never going to say, no, man, I'm just taking it because of my glaucoma. They're going to talk about what smacks, what's the most fire. Did you put that in a Ports banger? No, man, I use my proxy. It's going to be that conversation.
Yeah.
Regardless.
That's the Cheech and Kong side, or Cheech and Chong side of it, right? I mean, Cheech and Kong. Yeah, it's got it on my mind. Been thinking about it a lot lately. Yeah, then that's the image that, you know, people that aren't familiar with the industry or even the plant, that's what they think it is. As soon as you talk about pot or marijuana or weed, they think fucking Cheech and Chong or, you know, half baked.
Well, and most of those people are people that go or stop on the way home every night and buy a 12-pack.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Or drink a box of wine every night.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, what?
Stop at the bar and drink the equivalent of a 12-pack and then get in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah. Corey, I think you've heard this story, but when we were working on gathering signatures for Amendment 3, which was to change Missouri to adult use.
Yep.
Trying to get people to vote, we would volunteer and you know, go to the voting stations that were nearest to us and be there to tell people if they had questions about Amendment 3, to tell them what it said and things like that. And my closest polling place is in Troy, Missouri. And so it was very cold and it was the day to vote. And I had just gotten Pip, who's one of my cats, the one you saw. and he doesn't have a tail, and he walks on a leash. So you can imagine he gets attention. So I took my camping chair and an insulated thing of coffee and Pip on a leash and my signs. And I was sitting there so that people could ask questions. And this old man comes in. He comes flying in this old pickup that clearly doesn't have half of its parts. I'm not sure what parts those are. Dan would probably know right off the bat. He flipped me off as he was driving in. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. When he was getting ready to go out, he pulled up next to me and started shouting at me, "Who the hell do I think I am, pushing drugs on this community and trying to get kids killed?" And I very calmly said to him, "I'm not trying to do any of those things. I'm trying to get something that has always been a medicine for people to be able to use as they see fit." He's drinking he's smoking a Camel Light with no filter, and there are so many empty beer cans in the bed of his truck that, like, you would think you were at a recycling center. And he's going off on me for this, and he goes, no, you get that passed. You bring in all the druggies, and then all of our kids start disappearing and getting run over. Okay, well, first of all, you're yelling at someone with a cat on a leash. So, secondly, you, sir, are the problem, because we don't generally like to overconsume and get in the car. We like to overconsume and lay on the couch. I would frankly be more worried about you driving around after hours after consuming. I said, besides all that, I'm guessing you've never known anyone that suffered from cancer who benefited from cannabis. Hand to a Bible. He puts his Camel back in, takes a thing, blows it in my face, and goes, "I had cancer." Enough said.
Yeah. Shocker. Well, I know
I'm
from
not surprised one bit by that story.
No.
Well, I know from personal experience, I would rather get in the car with someone that's been smoking weed than drinking booze. I never seen anybody in my life ever smoke a big fat joint and then stand up and fight a guy in the middle of your living room floor. But I've seen that happen drunk.
No.
I've never known anyone that crashed their car and wrecked into other cars, or even, and what's the percentage of traffic accidents where the person had only cannabis in their system and wrecked? I don't know.
Well, have you guys heard that joke that's like, what's the difference between a drunk driver and a stoned driver? A drunk driver will fly through a stop sign, and the stoned driver will wait for it to turn green.
Right. Exactly right.
5 drunk guys will start a fight.
Yeah.
5 stoned guys will start a band.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or buy a pizza.
Yeah.
They'll start a business.
And that all goes into how people are so ignorant of the entire subject. They only see what the news has told them, New York Post. They only see what, the
So if anybody sorry, Corey, but if anybody
That's
wants
okay.
to go and get correct facts, where can they go to like find out stuff that's not just, some reliable sources?
If they're wanting to learn some of the basics about the cannabinoid system and how things work together, there are some really, really good books that you can find at the library on Amazon. If you just search for medical cannabis, there's several 101 books. If you're just wanting to learn some things about what are terpenes, what are cannabinoids, what are some of those basics, you can go to websites like the Canigma. They have a lot of evergreen content and a whole section on Cannabis 101 that you can read about. You can do a search for a terpene wheel, and it will bring up a wheel and show you what every terpene is. There's way more things out there than you think.
Yeah,
and there's a ton of podcasts.
Yeah, there's lots of information available. You do have to filter through, like especially on the internet. People we're not experts, but someone might see us and be like, "Well, Tammy's an expert," but you know, they might see our podcast and be like, oh, these guys know what they're talking about. And I don't know shit. Most people don't know shit about it.
Well,
The only reason that I even know as much as I know is because my niece is, you know, the Queen of Cannabis. I wouldn't know half the shit I know about it. I'd know half the shit that I know about it, but not the other half. She's taught me the other half.
I think as long as you look at what her sources are, you'll be in a good spot. If you go to the Society for Cannabis Clinicians, that's all published medical journal content. If you go to ACN, American Cannabis Nurse Association is another one.
Yeah. What about even the what's their name? I can't remember the
Cannabis
name.
Care Team.
No, the where you go to get your medical card. There's lots of information there. Elevated.
Elevate Holistics.
Yeah. There's all kinds of resources on their website.
Yeah. Yeah, the info's out there. It's just really hard to get mainstream media to publish it. So you have to, you know, rely on people that have a stake in the industry, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's definitely a stigma. What about you know, the dark side of the whole thing, the horrors of it? There's people
like
that
addiction. Like, what do you say to like people who, you know, have addiction problems?
Oddly enough, there's been a lot of research to indicate that people that are trying to kick an opioid addiction, if they use CBD and THC, it can help tremendously with treatment in helping them with withdrawal symptoms.
they won't get as sick when they get off of it.
As far as cannabis itself, there is not any compound component whatsoever that is physically addictive. It's not like nicotine.
Or caffeine.
Now, my therapist says that he believes that things are emotionally addictive. And I'll go along with that. I'll be the first to get in line and say, am I addicted to how it feels to be able to smoke and go to sleep without having to take 11 pills? I am addicted to that. It's an emotional addiction. I'm addicted to the effect that it gives me so I can sleep. Because I've had sleep disorder since I was a kid. And it's always been another pill, another pill, another pill. That's why I started smoking in the first place 30 years later than everyone else in my family. 40 for some of them.
Yeah, I think habitually addictive is another thing too. The habit of it. It's something I experienced when I quit smoking cigarettes. That's the reason vapor worked so well for me, was that it gave me something to. I'm still doing the thing. It just is less harmful to me than the cigarettes were. And I hope to someday not even do that anymore. I think one day I'll be able to just quit vaping and not have to worry about it anymore. But because now I've weaned my nicotine level, you know, smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day, going down to, you know, e-liquid that was 20 milligrams, you know, whatever, down to 3. So I'm nearly at the bottom of the scale, and I can just, all I'll have left is the habitual. I think that's part of the addiction for people. You know, it was a social thing. Nowadays, you go to a party and everybody's got joints.
Hmm.
Everybody's smoking or doing dabs in the corner or whatever they're doing.
Drink and ripple.
Yep. But when, you know, when I was young, a high schooler going to a party, like, you had to know the guy that had some weed, or you had to only tell your close friends, like, dude, let's go outside and we'll go in the garage and smoke, you know. I think that the tradition of it, the sitting around and, you know, the habit of breaking it up and rolling it, that used to kind of be an art. If you could roll a joint by hand when I was in high school, you were pretty fucking cool, you know. And now it's, you buy them pre-rolled, you know, and no one even has to know how to do it anymore. Or you can spend $300 and get a nice machine to do it for you, which I know Tammy is, you know, she's the director of marketing and sales. She knows all about those products.
I also have a YouTube show called The Real Run THC, where we demonstrate products of every budget.
Yep.
So you
I'll have
could
to check that out.
please do.
Please do. Well, I'll try to remember to put a link. I will remember to put a link in the
Yeah.
to your YouTube channel. So
There's a gadget for everything, but I always try to like think about that in terms of sort of breaking the stereotype, even though it's probably only obvious to people that are the stereotype or have been accused of being it. You know, if you think back 30 years, people, you know, like you were saying, Corey, if you could roll a joint by hand,
Mhm.
you were it.
Yeah.
I was 14 and I could roll a joint. I didn't smoke pot until after I was over 40, but man, I could perfect my roll and they were nice. But how many times have you seen somebody take a Coke can that's empty and make it into a pipe, or turn a watermelon or an apple into a pipe?
Yeah.
Don't tell me that everyone who gets high is lazy and
Right.
loses their brain function.
Not creative.
Some of the things that are coming out right now will make your head spin. We've got stuff that we're getting ready to shoot next month that I'm blown away. If I had a 3D printer, I
Yeah.
would have a business making my own gadgets.
Bamboo Labs, Tam. They're only about $700. You can get you one. They're
Not-
pretty nice.
Asking for a friend.
Of course. I've often thought of getting one myself. A 3D printer, that is. They're cool as shit. It's more of that modern technology that I was opposed to, and now I'm totally fucking liking it. You can make anything with one of them things.
Dude, I know.
Well, so what about people that are currently sitting in jail for selling weed, and now
That
there are
was one of
people
my questions.
making millions of dollars legally every year selling the shit that they went to prison for 30 years for.
Are
What do
those
we do
people
about
still in jail, or did they let those people out? I guess there was a crime. They did it. It was a crime and they did it.
It really depends on your state program. A lot of the state programs have expungements built into it to where they'll commit to expunging the records of non-violent offenders. So if you were in possession of a not massive amount, but you didn't hurt anyone or you didn't steal a car and they didn't get you with intent to distribute or anything like that, those people are getting expunged in a lot of the state programs. Some states take it a step further and they have social equity provisions. So like in Missouri, the micro business is our social equity program. And in order to be able to qualify, you have to meet a bunch of requirements. One of them is that your net worth has to be less than $250,000. Some of them, if you have been arrested for a nonviolent cannabis offense and jailed, you get certain consideration. There's a lot of components to it, but it's all really state specific on what those are. But a lot of people that have had their records expunged and have been able to get people who wanted to invest in them because they were social equity or because they had done time, a lot of people like to back them from an investment perspective, at least for startup capital.
Does Missouri have that program where their records are expunged and they're letting people out of jail?
They do. There's specifics around who gets expunged and gets let out of jail, but it does exist. And we do have a micro business program.
Okay. So some of them guys are not going to rot in jail for the rest of their life for selling a quarter up to somebody.
There's also a lot of national organizations like Last Prisoner Project, where people get very, very involved and tell specific stories about people who are doing 45 years for having an ounce on them.
Right.
With no other charges whatsoever. So there's a lot of national organizations also.
Wow. There's really a lot to digest with all of this.
Yeah. I have like so
Um,
many questions now.
Okay, well, yeah, good. Fire them off, man.
Well,
What
like
do we
one
got?
question is like, so right now, I kind of feel like medicinal marijuana or marijuana in general is treated as like a consumer good. Like, do you think
Yeah.
it'll ever be treated like a prescription medicine, like how we feel prescription medicines are?
I think a lot of that's going to rest on what happens federally. There are some programs that states are considering to open up as a medical program in their state, very small. And the way that they would like to set their framework up is to where you would have to have a prescription as opposed to a card, and that it would be for something very specific that you went and handed someone. I think that would change a lot of things. One, I think that there would be a lot more potential for corruption to get someone to prescribe what you wanted. I
Like
think,
there are with the opioids currently.
sure. I
But
think
would
that
there also be some like somebody would be able to nail it on the head, or would it take, you know what I'm saying? Like somebody would be able to get it right on there would be no discrepancies.
if you're dealing with a living thing, it's really hard to get to a point to where you can engineer it so much that it's exact and precise and replicatable over and over. So like the nicotine that goes into cigarettes, people didn't just pick that out of tobacco fields and throw it in cigarettes and that was the end of it. They had to engineer it and treat it with chemicals and do all sorts of things before it became something you could just get anywhere. But there are a lot of, I think, things that are going to come, and I'll use GW Pharma is a stock that I used to have that was based in Canada. It was a pharmaceutical company. It was focused on 2 prescription drugs that were made with cannabis. They were the first 2 that were approved by the FDA to be prescribed to people. So I think that you could create some things with cannabis and make them like that, and those would be available in a pharmacy. But to have someone try and make something like a pharmacy model work, I think that it would be impossible. Because if I'm prescribing, say you come to me and you say, listen, I can't sleep to save my life, and I've tried this, and melatonin doesn't work, and my doctor wants to give me Ambien, and when I take Ambien, I order things on Amazon and don't remember the next day, all of the things. If you're open-minded to smoking flower, then I'm going to recommend a flower to you that I know has all of the compounds in it that should be conducive for sleep. But how much of it you would smoke is completely dependent on how your body reacts to it. So I don't see us ever getting there. But I do think, especially if it becomes federally legal, that's when we start seeing a lot of things open up in terms of research and big pharma being interested in it and wanting to start funding research for it. So I think there's a lot of implications that change once it stops being a dirty little secret.
Okay, so if it were to become federal,
Mhm.
so like with the pharmaceutical industry,
Mhm.
that's their, all of their research and stuff is done by the pharmaceutical research or
Mhm.
by the pharmaceutical companies.
Mhm.
So, and the pharmaceutical company is completely corrupt.
Mhm.
So if the cannabis went federally legal and
Mhm.
everything would it become a government thing and would it just all come corrupt? Is that not something that you think we would want? Should we not want that?
I go in more than one direction. The thing that makes me really happy to think about federal legalization means that there's no longer restrictions on interstate commerce. So if you're somebody that is only wanting to partake of flower that was grown outdoors on the Pacific side of the US, that lets you find a way to smoke California cannabis or whatever. Takes away our inability to expense on our taxes. So if you've heard of 280E, it means that aside from things like packaging and the cost of goods that we're producing, we would be able to expense things that normal businesses can expense, charitable contributions, things like that. Because right now, cannabis can't do that. I do worry that if we move from state frameworks, which have been established already, and for many of us have been hugely successful, I worry about overregulation. But I always worry about overregulation because I'm very much not a fan of government. So I think it really depends on where you're sitting. You know, the other thing is, if you're someone that is very well capitalized and you want to invest in the industry and get a huge return, being able for certain companies to be traded on the New York Stock Exchange, it's very compelling for them if it becomes federal, because then they can buy stock in big companies. So there's a lot of good and bad from it. The thing that I like about it becoming federally legal is how many different institutions can start doing research, you know, besides the University of Mississippi.
Yeah, you can't even legally study it because it's federally illegal.
Right.
Bureaucratic
Wow.
bullshit.
There are certain colleges that can't have any kind of cannabis curriculum because they receive federal funding, which they would lose if they were teaching cannabis. So a lot of institutions have moved to like certificate programs. So like UMSL and SLU. There's several different learning institutions, colleges in our state and a few in other states where you can get a certificate in cannabis, whether it's extraction or cultivation or whatever.
So do you foresee it becoming federally legal?
I don't think it's going to be in the next 6 months. I believe it could be in the next 5 years.
The current administration is talking about reclassifying it and changing the schedule that it's on, which is what I've said for years. It should never have been put in the same category as meth or heroin or cocaine or whatever. PCP, angel dust. Really? Hey, what do you know? We were talking about money and profits and stuff. Eli Lilly just recently became the first pharmaceutical company to reach $1 trillion in market value. There's been other companies that have done that, but they were like tech firms like Microsoft and shit like that, you know? Is that the same kind of money we're talking about in the cannabis industry in the United States? Are there companies that are anywhere near that amount of money?
No, because one of the things that I think the vast majority of people who don't have any affiliation or friends in the industry is that it's harder for us to collect money than you could possibly imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that the dispensaries have a hard time just doing the transaction.
Yeah.
It has to be this and it has to be this, and you have to round up and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, it's weird. I've heard.
Yeah, otherwise, it's cash business only. And that poses its own risks.
Yeah.
If you work in a business that is not allowed to take any kind of payment except cash, someone has to come pick that up, or someone has to take it and deposit it.
Right.
It's a whole new element of danger.
Yeah, it creates problems that don't need to be there.
Yep.
You know, does the porn industry use cash only?
No.
Oh,
Neither
no,
does
they
alcohol.
use theirs. Yeah. Booze, Anheuser-Busch, they don't use cash only.
Mhm.
I mean, if you're talking about doing it because it's a vice or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, that's horseshit.
I
But
don't
that's just, once again, some more bureaucratic bullshit. God dang it. Well, what regulations are important and essential and which ones aren't? I mean, you know, I know there are just, the code has got to be fucking a book this thick of subsection A and all that bullshit.
You can go read it. It's quite lengthy. In fact, I can tell you that when we were medical only,
Yeah.
this was the regulations.
Right. It's like
Now
down
that
to,
And now that we have micro businesses, it doesn't even make sense to print it. It's better to have it online where you can look at it. I don't necessarily think that we have regulations that shouldn't be there. I do believe that anytime you have a government entity making the rules for an industry, they have to know more about it. And if they don't know more about it, they have to bring in subject matter experts that can help them understand. So an example that I like to use for Missouri, and the thing that I personally have the biggest issue with from a regulatory standpoint, is the packaging guidelines. So in Missouri, if you buy a pre-roll, the crutch on your pre-roll has to say marijuana on it. The package that it's in has to be child resistant certified. And on the outside of it, we're limited to the number of colors we can use. We cannot depict anything that could be interpreted as appealing to children, including robots, cartoons,
dinosaurs.
pictures of fruit, or animals. There is a compliance sticker that goes on every package that's in a retail dispensary that has to show you what the ingredients are, what the testing results were. We have to provide dosing instructions, which are very vague. And those have to be in a certain order on the label. And they have to be a certain font size on that label. And then that label has to be put on the package itself in a place where it was approved by the state. So every single time, let's say every time Proper grows a new strain and they want to create packaging for the things that they're going to make with that strain, they have to do a submission to the state with that strain name, a picture of the packaging, including designation on that die line that shows where the compliance label will live. You submit it, and it can take up to 60 days for that to get approved. If I'm an operator as big as Proper that might have a strain library of, say, 100 strains, can you imagine the manpower on the Proper side and then the manpower on the state side? And all the while, I just want to put out a pre-roll with a different flavor in it to make it as simple as possible, right? To simplify it. That is my biggest problem with the industry and the regulations in our state. The other thing that I think is ridiculous is that in order to work and have an agent ID in the industry, the state requires that I go get fingerprinted every year and that they do an FBI background check every year. If you're going to require an FBI background check, I'm okay with that. Run it every 15 minutes if you want. My fingerprints don't change
Yeah.
ever. So why does everyone who works in this state, in this industry, have to get re-fingerprinted every year and pay out of pocket to have it done?
Right. Right. Of course. They're not going to foot the bill.
Get reimbursed by our employer if they offer that every year. That's ludicrous to me.
Yeah. So
Did they say why?
it's ludicrous to me because that's the way things are now. You have to have a license to drive a car. You have to jump through these hoops to do any. But anybody can just have kids.
Yeah.
Anybody can just keep pumping out kids. That seemed to me like that's way more important than the things that the government is worrying about. You know, the problems that they're trying to fix by these regulations, the things they try to prevent with
I
these
feel like it
regulations.
creates more shit to deal with.
It creates harder and more difficult problems than would have been there ordinarily if they had just not meddled in it at all and allowed it to happen.
There are things that I like. I like that we have a requirement that we have to use a certified lab, a licensed laboratory testing facility. I do think that's a must. But I also wish that meant that they would enforce calibrating, that all the labs are testing the same way.
Right.
Because then we get into something else that we've seen happen in other markets where lab tests are inflated.
Yeah. The results don't quite end up jibing together.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the problem here is that now this is the business.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't the idea of helping cancer patients with a wonderful new, that's the thing that me and your dad have had conversations about this, and your view of what you're doing versus what someone else's view might be of it. You know what I mean? The business side of it is as dirty and crooked as any business. It's because it is a business. If it involves making lots of money, you're going to find scoundrels and people that are unscrupulous.
You'll also find a subset of people that are doing lots of really great things.
Certainly.
And some of the biggest companies in the space, they're doing a lot of good things for research and treating patients without charging them anything, and no one knows about it.
Yeah, I'm not trying to insinuate that everybody in the business is a crook or whatever. I'm just saying, like, in all businesses, there are those people too. That in the pharmaceutical companies, I'm sure there are people that work there that think that they're trying to help sick people.
Sure.
And that's their motivation to do what they're doing. I know that there are people in the medical marijuana industry that are the same way. And it's good. I think they are doing those good things for people. It is therapeutic. It does help people.
Mm-hmm.
It does help people where the thing they want you to use fails.
Yeah. When the thing that they have access to is causing them harm. State of Texas. I happen to have someone very near and dear to me in the state of Texas who has struggled to become sober for decades. He would not smoke pot because it was illegal. Plus, he'd been removed from having a plug from when he was in his 20s and didn't really know where to get it. Well, over time, people started selling hemp. Now, we could go down a rabbit hole with that too, because there are some very bad people that try to masquerade as hemp as well. But my point is, if he was able to walk into a head shop in Texas and get true THCA flower or get CBD smokable flower, something that could help with trying to be sober and get sober, I don't want him to lose that by outlawing hemp. I would much rather see Texas expand their program, at least on the medical side, if nothing else, to where people like him were able to get something less dangerous than a case of Bud Light a night.
Yeah. Or what the doctor will prescribe him.
Sure.
Yeah, what do you say to all those people who take medicines from the doctor all the time for everything because that's what we've been taught and that's how we've been raised and that's what society says to do, and they are so skeptical to even they're curious yet skeptical? What do you say to them?
I would say do reading beyond mainstream media, like actually go and read clinical trials, clinical studies, research that's been published from reputable sources. And everyone, I'd like to think, knows somebody who uses it as medicine. And so I would recommend that they talk to them. You know, the biggest growing demographic is boomers, which are people my parents' age, and they just turned 70. But I think we do them a disservice because a lot of times we set up dispensaries to where they're very intimidating. And a lot of boomers have said, I'd like to go get something, but I'm terrified to go in a dispensary. I don't want to look stupid. I don't want them to think that I'm a burnout. I don't want them to think that I know everything. I want to be able to ask questions without feeling foolish. I think that you have to ask people, you know, do you know of anybody that's used CBD? Do you know of anybody that's used cannabis? Hey, didn't you tell me your grandson sells gummies of some kind? That kind of thing. But I'm also the kind of person that if it's a new concept, I'm going to thoroughly seek out every resource I can and teach myself about it. And I don't know that that generation is prepared to do that. You know, my dad will be the first to tell you, I don't need to go to a dispensary. I got a guy. I'm that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He has been to a dispensary one time and I was with him. And he flat out said, never dreamt, as he's looking around, he's like, I never in my wildest dreams thought that I would ever see this in my lifetime. And this isn't what I expected. He expected a headshot.
Yeah, like in the old days.
Yeah.
You mentioned your dad he was going to talk about some of the celebrities that you've worked with in this industry that have gotten into. Didn't they go to meet Kyle Turley or something that day?
Yeah, that's why he went to the dispensary with me. So Kyle Turley, who is a former NFL player, he played for the Rams, he played for the Chiefs. He's probably best known for playing for the New Orleans Saints. He actually got into the business with some of his co-NFL players, Jim McMahon from the Bears and Evan Britton from also, I think, the Bears. Several of the former Blues players founded a cannabis company here in Missouri. There's a lot of people who are former athletes who have gotten into this space. And it wasn't necessarily because they saw it and said they could make big money off of it, especially in Kyle's case. It was, gosh, you know, I've had my brain scrambled on the field and there's a good chance that I have CTE, but you keep feeding me things like Vioxx and I'm suicidal. And then all of a sudden they smoke a joint that another player gave them, even though everyone pretends no one's doing it. That's how they're all managing their pain.
Yeah.
Kyle is one of the biggest advocates that you'll find for cannabis across the country, especially with all the new things that are coming up with the hemp change. He is very much an advocate. A lot of those guys are big advocates. Ricky Williams is a huge advocate, former NFL player. There's a ton of them. And they've all come out and said, I'm doing this because it saved my life. And those make for really powerful stories.
Yeah. I personally know a guy that was in a car accident. It wasn't his fault. A guy ran in and nearly killed him. In the hospital for weeks and then just years of rehabilitation and stuff. He got into, lost his job because he's disabled now because he gets all fucked up. He'd gotten to the point where he was just like a zombie, and his kids and his wife couldn't stand being around him anymore. He was in so much pain and, rehab kind of stuff. He was just eating all the stuff they're giving him. They're telling him, yeah, take it every 4 hours, man. Do whatever you got to do. And he's taking it every 4 hours. Well, he just constantly bombed out of his head on, fucking morphine and shit. So anyway, he was going to Colorado once a month and coming home with a trunk full of legal bud in Cal. It was still illegal here.
Yep.
But he said, man, I'm risking going to prison for a long time.
Right.
For this, because it's that big of an impact on me. It's going to help me so much. And it did. He's still disabled and stuff, but now his kids don't hate him anymore, and he can get up and go do stuff and have a life and things.
My very closest friend, her brother has epilepsy, severe epilepsy, and moved to Colorado, I want to say 10 years ago, maybe more, specifically so that he could legally get cannabis to treat his epilepsy. Period.
So, are there any laws for treating like your child? Like if I had a child with epilepsy and I thought maybe we could go this route to see if it would work, would there be any legal reprimands for me? Because
you would have to ensure that child had a medical card, which depending on
children can get medical cards.
Yep.
Oh.
You'll have to have documentation that your child, for someone under 18, it would have to be someone that you have documentation that shows that they have certain conditions. And it would have to be conditions that can be documented, like epilepsy or AIDS or cancer. It couldn't be insomnia.
And it would have to show, I think, that those therapies weren't working.
Correct.
And they need their, I think that's the deal when people try holistic stuff instead of what the doctor, they say, well, I've been on chemo for 2 years and it's still killing me. I want to do something
or
else.
Or a parent that wants to go a holistic way or a natural route versus using prescription drugs first.
Yeah.
Like, why is that so taboo?
Well, like she said,
it's got
the wrong image.
Not only that, think about the dollar value behind the lobbyists. I mean, don't get me wrong, cannabis has a lot of lobbyists too, but it's nowhere near the capital that pharmaceutical lobbyists get.
Yeah, no, the money difference has got to be ridiculous. Like I said, if Eli Lilly is worth $1 trillion, but that's only one company. It ain't Johnson & Johnson. It ain't Pfizer. The list goes on and on and on. So look at the amount of money.
So like back in Prohibition, was there such a stigma against, like during Prohibition, was there a stigma against alcohol?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you think that stigma against marijuana is gonna diminish like it did from alcohol? Because it is very, there's still a lot of stigma.
I think that some people are breaking the stigma without realizing they're doing it. And I nothing against soccer moms, but they're among those that are helping to break the stigma, because at soccer practice, they all have vape pens, cannabis vape pens, that they'll subtly take a hit off of and pass and giggle.
Yeah.
That's normalizing it in my mind. The people drinking the THC beverages.
Yeah.
I think they're normalizing it. I think it's hard to compare it apples to apples, Anna, more than anything, because what they were dealing with at that point in our history was so different than what we're dealing with. It is still, in my mind, the same in that a group of men decided they would govern everyone's lives by telling them what they could and couldn't do.
Yep.
I still think we're still dealing with that, but it's from way back then. With prohibition, though, I think there were a lot more people that all realized it was silly that it was illegal and were partaking anyway. So it was a bigger part of the population doing it, and it being pretty well known they were all doing it than it is today.
I feel like that's pretty much how it is, kind of. I feel like there's a lot more people that do it than what you think.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Like, then most people do, and you don't even know it.
Yeah. And you can look at surveys that they do at colleges and in the workplace, and it usually is a much bigger percentage than I think most people realize. But you've also got the honesty bias when you fill out a survey.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. There also, there's a lot of people that don't. There's a lot of people that say they've tried it and it's not for me and I don't like it or whatever the reason. I knew a dude in high school, Beaner, he was allergic.
Yeah, I had a friend that was allergic and would
blow up
vomit like
smoke.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It isn't for everyone, but I do feel like, I mean, like alcohol, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well,
and I feel like marijuana is getting to that point too. I mean, you can walk down the street and you'll smell it. Like if you're in a public place, you can smell it.
Yeah.
So with like alcohol, it's not as much affecting other people's bodies as much as marijuana is too.
Well, and you have to go into certain establishments, or you have to make a purchase and bring it to your home.
Right. You still can't do it in public legally anywhere. Right. I mean, they do. I'm just saying it's going to depend on how they decide.
I smell it in public.
I know, but you could smell it in public with someone doing it in their house with the windows open also.
Sure.
I can smell my neighbors when they're on the front porch smoking cigarettes. So with my windows open.
I think my biggest complaint with the regulatory part of it and the stigma part of it is that we like to point the finger at things that we call vices, and we like to point the finger at things that someone said however many decades ago. Reefer madness is this: if you consume this, you are a bad person, you are a terrible human being, and you're going to kill people. Whereas I could say that about sugar. Sugar doesn't have to come in child-resistant packaging.
Right.
Red dye number 6 doesn't have to come in child-proof packaging. When I can go into a grocery store and it costs more to buy a bag of oranges than it does to buy 4 pounds of Gardettos, that's something that I feel like I would rather have someone trying to regulate.
Yeah, I think a bigger question is not overregulate it, not strangle it to keep it from being able to move around and be fluid and stuff. But
I
at the
guess
same
that's my
time,
fear about it going federal, is being overregulated, and then we have no control over anything.
they just need to decriminalize it and just leave it be. Let the states handle it. Don't even fuck with it. It doesn't need to be. Let the states handle it. You can make it legal for them to go in over the borders to each other and that kind of stuff. And maybe put it, the FDA, maybe put it under the USDA or something. You know what I mean? Like a different governing body that's not so, I don't know. The FDA is too
Corrupt.
Well, yes.
Supported by lobbyists.
I mean, maybe the USDA is too, but it just seems like that's a more important thing to our food than the USDA, where it comes from. It's like a quality control kind of a thing. It regulates stuff to make sure that it's wholesome and tasty.
Now I have another question.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I have lots of questions.
Yeah.
So now we've been talking about going to a dispensary this whole time. Now with alcohol, you can make your own alcohol. Can you grow your own marijuana?
Yes.
You can, but you do have to register with the state as a home cultivator if you want to be legal.
Oh, okay. So you can't just like go outside and plant a potted plant.
Well, you could, but
not
it
legal.
doesn't mean if a cop comes looking for a serial killer and sees that you've got, giant plants that once the serial killer's caught, they're not going to come back and ask you where this came from or arrest you.
Yeah,
So
I
you do
think,
have to have a license and stuff for it.
You have to have essentially a cultivation card, just like you would have a medical card.
yeah,
The cultivation card is sort of an attestation that you agree to all the stipulations that the state has for you to home cultivate. It has to be a door that can be locked. There's a plant count you have to meet. There's a number of things that you have to
Yeah.
be able to do.
that's related to what your legal allotment is every month, right? The amount of plants you can have. And then you have to allow the inspector to come and make sure all these things are in place before, and then let them come back.
You don't have to let them do an inspection to get your card, but they do reserve the right to come and do an inspection when they want.
Just whenever they want.
Yeah.
Yeah. See,
I have yet to hear of the state ever doing an inspection ever.
well, I mean, what a waste of resources that is. Let's go and look at these plants this guy's growing at his house.
Yeah, they've got too many of our packages they've got to approve.
Well, that's true. Well, and that's related to the PMTA in the vape industry. The federal FDA said you got to submit this, and it costs so many thousands of dollars. And it's for you could have a juice line of 10 flavors. You got to do one for every flavor, not just the line, every single flavor. And if you change any of them, you got to do it again.
So what's the solution then? Because they have to regulate it, right? And they have to make sure that it's not, I don't know.
Well, that's just it. I think that they should have to regulate it if you intend to conduct business or make a living from it.
Yeah, that's a good
If
solution.
if I'm, let's say I'm 70 years old and I've got arthritis that's killing me and I have a green thumb, I don't think it should be someone else's decision if I grow plants in my basement and smoke them myself and never try to give them to anyone else or, make edibles to put in Halloween bags.
Yeah.
But like many things, I'm in the minority because a lot of people do like regulation and a lot of them want over-regulation.
Yeah, but them are the same people that want the government to take care of everything, do everything for them. They don't want to do anything. They don't want to work. They don't want to have health insurance. They don't want to do none of it, pay their taxes. I don't want to do any of that either, but I know you got to in this day and age.
But you do.
Hmm?
But you do it because you're an adult.
Right.
Member of society.
Yeah. A contributing member.
Yes.
Wow.
It's all very interesting.
So how much money are we talking in the nation? Do you have any idea? Any ballpark of the value of the entire market?
I could probably look it up. I can tell you that in Missouri, we're generally between 110 and 130 million a month.
A month.
Holy cow.
And we're a small state. What do you think California's doing?
Well, that's just it. We are, the last stat that I heard was that we are the biggest market, the 5th biggest market in the US. California has lots of sales, but they also have the greatest number of businesses going under because they're not getting their bills paid. Going back to the idea of cash only businesses, let's say that I'm in my Emma Leaf role and I sell to a dispensary group that has 10 stores and my terms for them are net 14. So I ship the product to them with a transportation provider and they put it out and they sell it. 30 days goes by and they haven't paid me. 45 days go by and they haven't paid me. 60 days go by and they haven't paid me. I'm still out that money because I had to buy the biomass to make the stuff.
Right.
But depending on how they're managing their money and their debt, they may not pay me. And so the number of lawsuits at any given time from people suing each other to get their bills paid, you'd be astonished.
And that's in California, you said?
No, that's everywhere.
Everywhere.
Oh.
It's just happening more in California currently.
You
So-
know, and there's a lot of different dynamics that bleed into that. You know, California's regulations are more jacked up than almost anybody's. The taxes that they have to pay and the amount of money it takes to maintain a license, astronomical. Some of it has to do with how many licenses a market has. You know, if you know of anybody from Oklahoma, Oklahoma is still medical. You can drive to Oklahoma and get a pound, probably $250. It's because they have unlimited licenses, or did at one point. And so they had more producers than they had medical patients. So a lot of the people that had licenses couldn't make it. When you have oversupply and under demand,
Yeah, it's worthless.
totally.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah, me neither.
Well, what in the world? How come it isn't taken off more? If it took off so great here, that first year that it was ridiculous. Illinois ran out.
Yeah.
When they didn't have any more to sell. It was all gone.
Well, and what an interesting case study in what can go wrong, because they had very few licenses and the highest tax rates, but people were so hungry for it that everybody in Missouri was crossing the river.
Right. Yeah.
And when you think about the states that surround, that's another reason Missouri's been so successful. Iowa has a limited medical program. Oklahoma has a medical program, but Kansas, Nebraska, completely illegal.
Yeah.
Illinois, taxes are too high.
Right.
Arkansas has a limited medical program. Texas has an extremely limited medical program, like 15 people. And so we're getting all of that traffic. You can go to what we would call a state line dispensary in Missouri and watch to see how many people, when they showed their ID, were from Missouri. Like 10 out of 200, because they're all coming in from other states.
Yep.
So Kansas, it's not illegal at all, but Missouri and Colorado is.
It's completely illegal in Kansas.
Kansas will never let cannabis in.
Really? Why?
That's its own show.
So you don't think all states will allow it?
No.
If it becomes federally, they'd have to put legislation in to keep it out.
Yeah. But I think some states would.
Yeah, you reckon? Wow.
Yeah.
I can't believe that all the states don't look at the revenue stream that it creates and be like, man, look at all the taxes these motherfuckers are bringing in. Let's make it legal tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's what I always said. I was like, people talk about the federal deficit in this country. I was like, man, if the fucking government got behind this and pushed it and set it up to make money from it, we would eliminate the trillions of dollars that we owe. I mean,
It wouldn't take very long either.
now
Probably.
maybe, that's I don't know if they're not making the kind of money the pharmaceutical companies are. I mean, that's if one state is making 150 million a month, that's a lot. That's just one state making 150 million a month at a year. That's whatever it is, $14 million or whatever.
Yeah.
15 or billion or whatever. I don't
I can
math.
tell you monthly what we run.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. What about I heard a story of someone that had a medical card and we were talking about regulations that don't make sense or that cause problems. There's a couple of things about it. One of them, he printed off his card, but he was an old dude and he was like not real tech savvy. And he'd gotten somebody to help him. They told him how to print off the card or whatever, but he only printed one side of it. He didn't think that there was the other side you had to print where the barcode is, where you have to scan it or whatever to be able to let in. Well, he'd gotten there and it wouldn't scan and they wouldn't let him in. Like, well, sorry. He's like, but I got a thing. Most people would have it on their phone or whatever. They just hand them their phone and that kind of shit. And this is while it's legal recreationally. And he said, well, just let me in. Anybody can come in here and buy it or whatever, the driver's license or something. They were like, no, we can't. You're a medical patient. You have to have your medical card to get in. He's like, well, but then as he's standing there saying this, a dude walks in some flip flops and a bro. He's like, hey, man, good. They let him right in. Meanwhile, this dude that's using it for medicine, he has to have it in order to be able to operate and do all the things. No. That's what I mean by they're creating problems that wouldn't exist if not for their fucking meddling. Hurting that dude.
I agree. And it might interest you to know, last Friday, the state government, Missouri, DHSS, did agree that once a patient has visited a dispensary and let's say they run out of their allotment, they are able to shop as a rec patient or as a rec customer now.
Oh,
really?
wow.
Okay. Well, that's an improvement, at least. I mean, but god dang, what's the medical? What is it, like 12 ounces or something? I mean, it's like, how much can you get a month?
So if you're a medical patient, you can buy up to 6 ounces every 60 days. If you are a rec shopper, you can buy up to 3 ounces per transaction.
Yeah. And that's I could do that all day long if I have the money and go to just get a different place and get 3 more ounces. And at the end of the day, have 10 pounds of weed in my trunk. Yeah. What is
completely legal?
There you go. Once again, regulations that don't need to be. Why is it that way? Wouldn't you think that the person that needs it for therapy would get the larger amount, the less hassle to get it? No, fuck no, not in America.
Yep.
What?
There's not a perfect market that exists.
They just need to not mess with it at all. Just let people do what they want to fucking do.
When it comes to that, I don't disagree.
If I can grow oregano and put it in my homemade spaghetti sauce that I, grew the tomatoes, I can. What was that stuff you were talking about the other day, Anna? You said some kind of oil. Is it oregano? You said something about
oil of oregano.
Yeah. It's like infused oil with oregano. I mean, like, that's the same deal. That's making a tincture or an infusion.
Sure.
If you grow corn and then you dry it and grind it and turn it into fucking flour and make tortillas out of it, I mean, what's the difference of that?
One's psychoactive and one's not.
You can grow grapes and make your own wine. You can grow that same corn and turn it into liquor.
I don't disagree.
What the fuck?
I don't disagree.
It's those same people. Man, don't even get me started. I've read some articles today that I need to get off the internet is what I need.
Yes. Yes, you do.
But I can't. I'm a content creator. I'm tuned in. I'm plugged in.
Well, you could choose to let the internet bring you content that you'd like to talk about versus just diving in head first and being bombarded.
I do. I really try to, my YouTube algorithm would be fine if Renee would quit using it.
You don't have separate users?
We do, but she refuses to switch. I've just given up. It's okay.
Wow. I once threatened a man's life who thought he could thumbs up or thumbs down a song on my Pandora.
Yeah, that's a big no-no in this house. You get back on yours.
That's what I said. I remember we went to your house one time for something. I don't know, I was waiting for you for a meeting or something. And you were like, here, you gave me the remote to the TV. And I was like, whatever. And you're like, don't do anything. Use your own. Don't you? Like, you were adamant to don't click on nothing. You can watch whatever, but I don't. The algorithm is so ate up these days, man.
Well, imagine this. My dad spends a lot of time here when I have to travel.
Yeah.
If he was using my YouTube account, the next time I went to look at YouTube, my
No.
head would explode
Yeah.
because there would be so much
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot, old cars,
Yep.
football. My stuff would get lost.
Guns.
Then how could Pip possibly watch his favorite orange cat on YouTube?
Wow.
Come on.
I'm sure Mama took care of that for him.
You're
Put
darn
it on.
right.
He has his own, I'm sure, his own YouTube.
No, but I do let him use mine.
If you could probably put that cat on TikTok, man. He'd probably be a fucking viral star.
That means that I have to be on TikTok and
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that either. Anna fucks with TikTok. She's addicted.
Lots of my friends do,
Problem
and
with most people.
the Real Run THC is on TikTok now. But I'm not a fan of the social media for myself.
Yeah, I don't like it either. I use it mostly just to look at hot women.
I use Pip's Instagram just to watch what we were talking about earlier, the little orange cats working at McDonald's,
Yeah.
or the corgi working at Chick-fil-A, or making Domino's pizzas.
There's a it's a Bigfoot vlog. That's what it's called. It's on YouTube, and it's an AI generated. And it's as if Bigfoot was vlogging, building a crapper, or making a tree house, or
Dan
my
watches
father
that
aware of
shit.
that?
He shows it all the time.
what's that, Tim?
Is my father aware of that?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay.
He might even have been the person that turned me on to it, because he likes to watch them little kittens doing stuff.
Well,
He did a street fight and all kinds of stuff.
I wouldn't say that he seeks out the kittens. You have to remember who he's married to. And her iPad is constantly looking at that. So in between showing him those kittens doing everything, she's emailing me every single one of them.
Yeah.
So
Consciousness.
I think some of those AI kittens that he's shown, he will chuckle at. But I wouldn't say he seeks it out.
I don't know about that. He always mentions them, but it could be from the constant barrage of them. Well, let's see. Speaking of kittens, Hannah, you want to give us an update on the brood? Are they doing good? It's a week later.
Yep. And Mama is weaning them, I think.
All
already.
right.
So they're using the litter box, and they're eating food, and they're drinking water, and they're getting big, and they're very playful. So they have got to go very soon. So I think I'm gonna put up a post tomorrow, and then they'll be ready by, I'm thinking, next week, the week after.
To take them out of there.
Yep.
And then you're going to set an appointment to get Wanda fixed. Is that it?
Yes.
I like this plan.
You
Very
can let her go
soon.
back outside. Well, that's good. I'll be glad when they're gone, so I get this specter hanging over my head gone.
Yeah.
Tammy is quite the cat lover. Both her cats are rescue cats. Ain't that right? Hops he was abused or tortured or something, and fucking Pip was carried off by a hawk. That's Anna's favorite fucking.
It's my fear.
Yeah, and it actually
The real
happened to
thing.
Pip.
Oh
Pip
my
has a family somewhere, but he was picked up by a raptor and dropped in a parking lot by a bird.
Yeah,
And that's how you got him?
Well, that's how Smelly Cat got him. And then I adopted him from Smelly Cat. We're talking about you.
Yeah, you remember that video? We watched that video of that eagle dropping that cat on the windshield. Same fucking deal.
It's honestly my biggest fear. So like when we let our cats out, I don't let them out for very long at a time. And if I like go in and get sidetracked, I get so scared because I am so scared. Something's just they take the chickens, they'll totally take my cat.
You saw that movie, The Proposal?
Yes. Yes. I have seen that movie.
Wow.
Kevin. Remember the bird comes and carries off Kevin?
Yep. It's my biggest fear.
See, Corey, she's seen some movies.
Wow. Look, dude, I'm actually impressed that there was a reference. She brought up one last week that I hadn't seen that she had seen. So
Okay.
That's something. So she's coming along, but she still isn't getting that number up there. She
Well,
hasn't,
I feel like you won't let it rest until you give her a list.
Yes.
well, I got so deflated, and they
Because I
shit all over
want
my beloved
scary
Kong.
movies.
Kong's not scary.
Well,
It's a
all the movies you want me to watch are horror.
No, that's not true. I
Okay, well,
just
give me
picked
something
that
besides
genre.
horror.
I picked that genre because you said you don't like to watch horror movies because they give you anxiety and this kind of stuff. And I took it upon myself to find some that you could enjoy, that were of that genre. It's my favorite genre of movie. If I want to watch a movie, I'd prefer it to be a horror movie. If one of them tearjerker ones where you're hurt and you get the ball in your throat and all that shit, I don't like that.
Oh, that's sometimes really cathartic though.
Nope. Hate it. Hate it all. That lump in my throat is some of the worst pain I've ever felt.
Well,
I don't really want to cry, but I want to be like attention, and I want it to like change, and I want it to, I don't know. I don't want it to be. I don't want it to scare
Okay.
me, and I don't want it to make me cry.
Right. Well, then here's one. Here's one that is that way. There's a movie called There Will Be Blood. Not horror. It's not scary. It's
Okay.
epic. But it's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's Daniel Day-Lewis. Have you ever seen it, Tim?
yeah, it's been a hot minute.
It is about the oil boom in the early 1900s in California. But
Okay.
it's excellent. It has some of the best acting I've ever seen in a guy.
What's it called?
There Will Be Blood. It's very dark, but at the same time, it's kind of a dark comedy.
Yeah, I like that.
They're spoofing this guy, this character. Daniel Plainview is his name.
It's a
It's-
Western thriller, is what it's saying.
Yeah, that would, I guess, kind of.
Close enough.
Yeah, it's in the West anyway. They're not like cowboys and shit, but although there are cowboys in it, to be fair. And then you check, it's pretty long, but check that one out and then get back to me on that. And, maybe I'll cut you some slack and see what you think of this one. And then, because it isn't for everybody, but it is good, man. It's one of my faves of all time. And it's not horror. So there you go. Tammy
Alright.
likes horror movies, aren't you? You like horror
I
movies?
love horror movies.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Just the good ones are few and far between.
Did you see Weapons?
Never even heard of it.
Oh, really? It's fairly new.
Huh.
What about the
Move your
remake?
hand.
Oh yeah, I've broken myself of that, I thought, but apparently not. What about the Guillermo del Toro's remake of Frankenstein? Have you seen that?
No,
I'd like to talk to somebody about those.
I have not watched a movie though in a really long time.
Yeah, your numbers have dropped too.
My numbers?
Yeah, your numbers of movies you've ever watched.
Oh yeah, that's totally true.
It's one of my favorite references. I say it in every podcast at least 5 or 6 times. Have you ever seen the movie called so and so, blah blah? To prove a point about something, and she never has seen the movie, so I can't prove the point to her. You know what I mean?
I knew
So
that one though.
Watch some fucking damn movies. Oh, I've seen Ocean's 11 900 times. No, I never saw Sling Blade, Corey.
I don't even remember the last time I watched that movie, and you always bring that up. I
What,
watched
Ocean's
it.
11? I'll tell you.
Yeah.
No, not Sling
Oh
Blade.
yeah, because it was when I was at your house.
It was when you were at my house and you rented
Yeah.
it, and it was on Netflix. You could have just went to Netflix and fucking watched it. No, can I rent a movie? Or I don't care, whatever.
That does bring up an important point. Have you seen Sling Blade, Anna?
No.
Yeah. See,
You really should.
see,
It is very, very good.
top 5 movies of all time. Billy Bob Thornton is a force to be reckoned with in this
It
movie.
is a really, really good movie.
That kid Lucas Black acts his ass off. Dwight Yoakam, you know who Dwight Yoakam is, right? Anna, the singer Dwight Yoakam.
Yeah.
I'm a honky tonk man. He's in it and is awesome in it. It really is excellent. Ian Moore also is it. And Tammy knows who Ian Moore is, I think. You heard of Ian Moore? The singer, songwriter? Maybe not.
What is this about?
Oh, Ian Moore?
Sling Blade?
Yeah.
Oh, I think I'm thinking of Ian Hunter.
No, that's way old. That's Mott the Hoople.
Yeah.
This is more modern. This is
Yeah,
nice.
Sling Blade is really good.
Has Robert Duvall in it. Plays Carl's dad. And just, oh my God.
It is so good.
And the amount of quotable
Yeah.
things that are in it are unbelievable.
Well, when I looked up Sling Blade, it said
What's that? When you looked it up, it said what?
sorry, when I looked up Sling Blade, it came up with all the quotes first. It said Sling Blade quotes, and then it gave me the movie.
French fried potatoes. Reckon you can make me some biscuits. Yep. Where are you going with that lawnmower blade, Carl? Ain't got no gas in it.
Yeah,
where you headed with that wash? Ain't you got no mom and daddy to tend to it? It's excellent, man, for real. And you will love it.
It's on Netflix.
Yeah, it's all over the place. It's excellent. That motherfucker wrote it, starred in it, directed it, produced it, and won like 3 Oscars. It was his first movie.
It made me a Billy Bob Thornton fan.
Yep, me too. Even though he's a douchebag.
Okay.
Have you seen him lately?
On T-Mobile?
Well, not only there, but anywhere.
Oh, no. I've seen the T-Mobile commercials that come on during the hockey game.
Yeah.
But again, I don't read things in the ether.
Yeah.
My life is carefully curated.
Okay. Carefully curated.
Seriously.
All right. Well, man, we've covered lots of topics tonight, and we did dive pretty deep into the cannabis thing, which is good. There's Pippington. What's up, bub?
Do you see Corey?
No, he doesn't know where the camera is.
He does. He just puts his balloon knot in front of it and gets in trouble.
His brown eye. Hi. I mean, his painted toenails.
They're not painted, they're caps.
Well, they're multicolored. They're painted, in my opinion.
They're all black.
Oh, they are? They didn't used to be? They used to be colorful.
It just depends on what I find quick enough on Amazon.
I see. He's so spoiled. But, well, it's the point of the evening when I always say, if you've watched this long, then you're our biggest fans, man. We appreciate it a lot. We have a really good time doing it. I want to thank Tammy for coming in, sitting in and sharing her expertise.
Thank you.
You're our second guest, and hopefully we'll have you back sometime. We'll talk about some other stuff that you know a lot about.
I'm happy to talk a whole bunch about how I feel about things. May not be what everybody else feels, but it's okay.
That's what we do here, man. It's none of the above. It's like nothing you've ever heard of before. All the other options are unacceptable. Choose none of the above.
Yep.
That's what we do.
Well, I am off tomorrow and due at the dentist at 8, so it was well worth staying up past my bedtime.
Oh, nice. Excellent. Well, you'll still get to sleep tonight. You'll be up at 4 regardless. Yeah. All right. You got anything to add, Hannah?
No, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Well, I guess from all of us here at the program, thanks again, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Later. Positive energy.